the ideas that was introduced in that workshop that we did on Saturday was really to know that, really to recognize and come to a deeper understanding that how we as people, as human beings, are very much part of our natural rhythm of nature and the bigger whole of life. So when we look at nature, nature always goes through different cycles of birth, cycles of growth, cycles of maturation, and then cycles of decline and quiet time. So whether it's, the seasons, spring moving into summer, where it's a time of growth, autumn, a time for harvesting, and winter, time of quietness and hibernation. And when we align ourselves with these rhythms of nature, then it brings a kind of a balance within us. And there's been some interesting research that has been done to show that when we align ourselves even with the rhythm of the day, sleep at the right time, wake up at the right time, eat at the right time, and then not to eat at other times. When we begin to align ourselves with the cycle like that, the impact it has on our health, but I think also a lot on our mental and emotional well-being as well. So, perfection in a way which is ultimately a state of balance. And as people, we have sometimes forgotten how to create that balance. There's a time for ideas and birthing of things. There's a time to put energy into growing your ideas and investing and putting a lot of energy and work in that. And there's a time then you have to harvest the fruits of that effort and then come into quietness so that you can give birth to something new. The tendency we have is that we tend to wanting to work at full throttle all the time, meaning there's a kind of a culture where we feel we need to produce, we need to be efficient, we need to just work and do and perform constantly. It's like the way, I think it's part of the Industrial Revolution, because as we moved away from really living within the rhythms of nature, with the coming of the Industrial Revolution, it's like we begin to treat our bodies and our minds like machines. And inevitably, we also end up treating each other like that. So today's whole thing is also about really learning to also take rest and time out. And as we're approaching winter, it's a good thing to also do that, We don't have to be operating at full production level, but quieten down, become more introspective, give time to really look at what do I want to nurture internally and give space for myself internally. So the theme that I'm going to pick up from Dadi's book today is on leading others. And I think leadership is such an interesting subject. The first thing is always recognizing that there's a difference between leading and managing. And I think we tend to look at leadership very much in terms of a role, a position, and many times it is relegated to managing people. But what I've begun to explore and learn and observe as well, people who are real leaders, they're not necessarily managers. Because leadership is about having a very powerful vision and being so aligned with your vision that you can bring others into seeing that vision as well. and a leader who can help others to see the vision that he holds dear, then it happens. It happens without needing to force it to happen. It's not about a position. It's really about this kind of a clarity of where we need to be. And the other thing I find about leading is that you lead from where you are. You can only lead others when you first lead yourself. And that's where my own integrity, my authenticity, the clarity of my own sense of purpose plays an important role, because it's in what I'm being and how I do what I do, and what I'm being while I do, that becomes the inspiration. And through that inspiration, then others grow. And I think that's what I like about the whole concept about leadership, of leading, because a true leader is not only the one who's sort of pushing ahead and telling others, come on, but is someone who creates the right environment so that others also grow into what they need to be, that others also feel that kind of a space to recognize their own worth and find the courage to step into giving expression of what their own worth is and their own deeper qualities are. So it's much more deeper. And so Dadi talks about it in a way as well, that it's not so much the skills and the talents that we tend to give so much focus on, but it's the quieter, softer skills, qualities that are needed. Before I read Dadi's passage, I want to just share something that I had read some time back. Benjamin Zander, he's a conductor of an orchestra, the Boston Philharmonic Orchestra. And he and his wife, she was like a consultant that used to work in the space of people's development. And he used to teach students. So she used to come up with the theory and he would apply it with his students. So a very lovely partnership. But he shares one story, and they were having an exchange program. So the Boston Philharmonic Orchestra, their students were going to Cuba and were going to perform in Cuba. And the Cuban sort of orchestra there was going to perform. And there was one piece that they were going to perform together. So he had sent through the piece that they were going to do together in a way. And according to the post or whatever, it didn't get there on time and whatever. And it was quite a difficult piece. It wasn't something that they could just pick up like that. So the question was now, when his team went there, they realized they didn't get it in the post, something went missing. It was the days before emails. So what to do now? And then he came up with this idea, and he said that everyone in his team, because his team had practiced well, so everyone in his team had a counterpart in the Cuban team. And so instead of him trying to teach the Cuban team, he got each of his persons to be next to the Cuban person, and almost like they mentored each other. So almost like these two orchestras became one, and each one taught one in a way. And it was an amazing performance, and completely successful. But the lesson from that really was that leading is not about a position. You lead from where you are, because that was a classic example where each one became a leader. and the harmony that flowed through that process. So I always remember that, because it's this recognition that each one is a contributor, and it's like, if I have the opportunity and I have the space, can I create the right environment? Because when people feel safe, they flourish. And all these issues that we have around management only comes and stems from insecurities and fears. But when we create a loving and a nurturing environment, people grow into the roles that they're meant to grow into. And you don't have to manage people. You just have a very clear idea of the process that needs to follow, and let everyone understand and respect the process. And then there's a very good flow of what happens. So a lot to learn in terms of that. And so I want to pick up what Dadi says today. So Dadi says, good leadership is based on skills which are incognito, like, and it's interesting, the ones that Dadi highlights: pure feelings, faith, and trust. These keep both your frame of mind and the task moving in the right direction. So it's almost like the opposite of fear is faith and trust. And so the skills that is in pure feelings, faith, and trust, these keep both your frame of mind and the task moving in the right direction. It is human to err, but your high hopes for someone can actually eliminate errors. Doubting people has exactly the opposite effect. And if we, something that Dadi would always highlight in a way, and there would be a triangle that would be drawn. And on the top is self, then it's relationships, and then it's task at the base of the triangle. And very often our focus is a lot on the task and what needs to get done, right? And sometimes in order to get the task done, it's at the expense of our relationships. And also it's at the expense of ourselves on the top. And so Dadi would always turn that triangle upside down. She said, first, take care of your inner self. Take care of your mind, take care of your heart. Then invest in people, in relationships. Invest in creating good, healthy, authentic relationships. And when the relationships are there, then what happens? The task gets done. You don't have to work hard at the task. The task gets done because the relationships of trust and respect are in place. And so therefore, Dadi says, pure feelings, faith, and trust. And that will keep your mind in the right space, but also keeps the task in the right direction. Believing in someone, extending feelings of trust, never telling people what to do, but stepping aside and watching with faith. This is what enables a task to get done in the right way. Spiritual skills like these are cultivated by avoiding complacency. And when Dad is talking about this, I think in some ways is that just to always keep my inner lens focused on myself, just to see, because our insecurities step up very sneakily. I had the experience when I was working in the corporate environment. And one of our managers, she was always very accommodating and understanding and flexible and whatever. But at one point, things went a bit wrong in one of the systems, and it was having quite an impact on the business. And it's almost like all the authoritarian aspects of her personality that she kept undercover suddenly came out. And she was forcing down decisions which were not necessarily the right decisions to actually get the team out of the place where they found themselves in with regards to the systems. So it's like we always have to keep that lens internally, very focused, that I don't resort to being forceful because of fear. That I remain within that principle of just being respectful and nurturing the right thing. And so it takes a bit of patience, but it takes a lot of honest introspection to be able to do that constantly. Because, when things happen, we very automatically default to trying to fix it and get control over it. But that's the one time that we need to just breathe and allow, and that the solution will come to the surface in the right way. So it takes a lot of faith to be able to do that, a lot of faith in the process. So that is saying spiritual skills like these are cultivated by, firstly, avoiding complacency, learning to be sensitive, that means catch the signals, and staying alert. Also keep an eye on your own spiritual health. Don't look to others for whatever is lacking. Look within. See what remains to be done and do it. Never allow those with strong personalities to tell you what to do, especially when you feel something else to be right. So don't let yourself be repressed or suppressed. Stay in your truth. So never allow those with strong personalities to tell you what to do, especially when you feel something else to be right. This creates depression, and you can't afford to be disheartened. Take care of yourself with understanding and love, and make sure that you never compromise your own spiritual growth. So really, it's like learning this art of being accommodating and accepting and allowing, but also within that, not compromising your internal well-being as well. Because sometimes when we don't get that balance right, we can end up a little bit like a doormat. And it's not about that is being humble. No, I think we have to unlearn that understanding of humility. But humility really means that I stand in my truth respectfully of who I am and who the other is. But I don't allow anyone to suppress me in any way or oppress me in any way. That's the kind of a responsibility I have towards myself. And when I can maintain that in a way, then I can actually allow for the right things to happen at the right time. And I think that has been another deep lesson for me in leading others. We can't force the learning. We can't expect what we think should be now. We just have to provide the platform in a way. And at the right time, the right things will emerge. I find it's like a dance that we need to know when to come forward, give input, share my thoughts, give expression to what I think is important, give a sense of direction, and then also to give space and see whether it's accepted or not, and I should be totally cool with that. and to guide the process rather than to force the process. So when to step forward and when to step back. It's a dance. And it requires a deeper trust in the power of my intention and the power of my vision. Because the more that is kept clean and the more that is kept aligned with deeper principles, there's a power in that will unfold at the right time. So I find that that's very important. It's like we have to have faith in these more subtle aspects. Very often we get very caught up in trying to push things, but that just breaks things further. And also sometimes we get into the trap of trying to fix things, and that also just creates further entanglement. So, we just create the right space, the right environment, the right atmosphere by paying attention to these subtle things, as Dadi spoke about, pure feelings, faith, and trust. So yeah, those were some of my thoughts around what we explored today around leading others. And I'd like to leave a little space if anyone has any questions or any comments that you'd like to make before we close it off with the meditation. Anyone? So no questions, no comments. Okay.
Greetings, peace.
Yeah,
Greetings.
go ahead.
Yeah, I wish to just mention that what we are learning here, I wish it could be in the syllabus for leadership, because the kind of managers and leaders we meet at our workplaces are far from what we are describing here. I remember in one of the lessons we were saying the skills we need are to love the other. I forgot the other one. It was coming from Eddie's book, which simply means that if we had love for the other, love unconditionally, love irrespective of what my position is, we would then lead others much better. But that, unfortunately, is not happening, and I don't think it's about to happen anytime soon, unless probably we have a critical mass of people who have this learning that we have and they start spreading it. Maybe it will catch fire. But for now, I think we are many slaves in our jobs. Fear is reigning more than thinking. Some people are so skilled, but they can't even voice a suggestion because of fear. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I think you're right in a sense to say that really there's a lot of fear that is prevalent in our environments, and we can see that's why when things don't work, it's so reactive. Everyone is so reactive. Everyone is just looking, who do we blame and who can we sort of direct this issue to, in a way, rather than finding a collective way of resolving things. But I think change in society never happened from the top down. I think it's those of us that can see that there is another way of being, that we keep working on ourselves, we keep inspiring those that are in our circle of influence, be it our family members, be it our children, be it our friends, that we all just start thinking differently and applying ourselves differently, Even in the work environment where you are, perhaps there may be people around you that report to you. And so begin to encourage that. I found it as well that even if I'm not the team leader, but I'm a team work, a part of the team, just the way I engage with my other team members begins to make a difference. And it's true in a way that the more that we start being differently, the more we inspire a different way of being, and that we begin to create that relationship on the foundation of love and respect, then that's it. The more of us that starts functioning like that, the more we're going to have a bigger impact on things. But it's not going to happen if we're going to wait for it to happen from the top down. It is about us taking that responsibility and seeing the value of it and integrating it in our own lives and in our own circles where we can make an impact. Yeah. So it is this the whole 100th monkey syndrome. You may have heard of that, or even the way ice forms on a lake, that it's one crystal, then another crystal, and then another crystal. And eventually the crystals begin to connect with each other. And then suddenly it reaches a critical mass, and then the whole lake is become an ice lake. So yes, it's about each one of us seeing ourselves at that crystal that is forming. And the more we connect with each other, we empower that energy to create a wider impact. Okay, so someone has just responded, the idea that the power of my intention, to know that I have to trust the power of my intention, and that creates the right environment that will let people to flow into where they need to do the right thing. And someone was asking as well, the title of Dadi Janki's book that we've been drawing from, it's called Companion of God. Okay, great. So thanks for the input this morning, and let's end off with a meditation. Thank you. So breathing in deeply. I allow myself to return to that part in my being where I reconnect with the energy of peace. I am consciousness. I am a soul. I am light. And the very essence of who I am is peace and love. As I hold this awareness, I feel that energy of love in my heart, pure, sacred, powerful. The ultimate purpose of us being here is really to give expression to this pure energy of love that we are. I am a divine being, a child of God. And as I look through this lens of awareness, I see the divinity in every other being. I value the intrinsic worth that I recognize in another. And this awareness of who we truly are creates a very powerful feeling of connectedness, of belonging, and knowing that we are all children of the one supreme parent. And that when I come from a place of love, I come from the highest in me. And when I come from a place of love, it naturally and automatically creates joy, and an atmosphere of growth and abundance and creativity and lightness around me. So holding this feeling and awareness, I begin this week with this deep joy and awareness that my deepest purpose is to give love, to express love. Om Shanti. Okay, everyone, have a good day and let it be a beginning of a good week for all of you. And keep warm because it is getting cold. Take care.
Thank you, Sister Pratima.
Okay, thank you.
Have a nice day.
Thank you.